match against Pkeranger here, and I'm using my new team that's not doing very well, so I'm going to go back to my old team. And anyway, so we start off with, I lead off with Pkeranger6, and as you can see I fixed my narration because I've downloaded, very legally may I add, downloaded Sony Vegas Pro, so this is cool now and the narration's going well. So I get a fake out in, and I know he's going to try and set up because that's what Gyarados do. So I'll go with the Thunder Wave, which is great because that quarters his speed, so it means pretty much everything on my team can outspeed him. So I go out to Pkeranger6. I'm not quite sure why I did this. I mean, I know I did it because I can go with the Thunderbolt, but what I should have done is gone out to Gastrodon first, because he's still got +1 attack. So, but yeah, he goes into Flygon, takes my Thunderbolt nicely. I go out into Gastrodon, and he's lucky I wasn't, he's lucky I was Scarfed then, because otherwise I would have taken him out with a Ice Beam. So in comes his Cresselia, which is a pain, because Cresselia's a, well, yeah, they're a pain. So he hits me with a Psychic, and that takes that nicely, as it does, because, you know, it's a Spiritomb, Dark type immunities, all that. So I Hypnosis his Sizzle, that's on it. Sorry, I forgot its name for a second there. Hypnosis its Sizzle, and I'm checking how much damage the different moves do, and I decide to switch out, and I go into Infernape, which is a nice switch. So he switches out again, goes into Gyarados. I knew he would go into Gyarados, but at the same time, there was no point using Thunder Punch, because if he hadn't, then, even though I thought it was very likely he would, if he hadn't, he would have killed my Infernape. So there's nothing wrong with under-predicting when you know they're going to switch. So in comes Herbie, and Herbie, oh, by the way, if anyone can get why I called him Herbie, then you are some kind of genius, because it's really not obvious at all why it's called that. Anyway, I go with the counter, and that takes it down to about 30% HP, which is good. It's really nice. So I switch him out. I go into my Spiritomb. I get some nice power hacks there, and I'm deciding what to do, what move to use. He goes into Steelix, and I hit that with the Shadow Ball. Which obviously clearly doesn't do very much, since Supernova doesn't have much in the way of special attack, and that's resistant, and it's got quite a lot of HP. So I knew he was going to Rocks, so I could have gone out to what I wanted, and I go into Squelchy. So at this point I decide to Curse, because I'm not quite sure what he's going to go into, and he goes into Cresselia. So again I switch out into Spiritomb to take the Psychic, which works nice. Sorry, but before I do that, I use Recover to scout what move he's going to use, and then I switch into Spiritomb, because I wasn't sure if he'd fall for it twice, but he does, obviously. So Spiritomb comes in, and I go with the Shadow Ball again, and he switches out. And he goes into Snorlax, so obviously Shadow Ball does nothing, but I couldn't really predict that since I hadn't seen the Snorlax already. So his Sizzle's still asleep, which means I can't use Hypnosis because of Sleep Clause. So I have to switch out. There's nothing I can do against that, and I go into Infernape. I wasn't quite sure what he was going to do, but I knew he wasn't going to attack. I thought he would be a Cursor, because Curse Laxes are a pretty popular way to use Snorlax. And as you can see, the close combat doesn't kill it, doesn't even really come close, and takes out Infernape, which is so not cool, because Infernape's pretty much one of the 2 really good sweepers I've got on this team, the other one being Deoxy's Speed Form. And so I go into Pkeranger6, I hit it with the Tri-Attack. On hindsight, I should have gone into Deoxys, but I didn't, pretty much. So there's me being annoyed about how little damage the Tri-Attack did, even though looking at it now, it seemed perfectly alright. So I finished that off with a Thunderbolt. I wasn't actually sure if this would actually finish off, because he's got a lot of special defense, and Flash's special attack and attack aren't particularly good because it's a mixed Deoxys, which means it has to have relatively decent both, which means neither of them are actually that great. I get a crit with Psycho Boost. I'm not really sure if I needed it. Psycho Boost got 140 power, base stab 210 power, you know. But whatever, I switch out. He sends in Steelix, so I go in with Gastrodon to take the Gyro Ball. Which it takes like a beast, obviously, since Gastrodon's really slow and resistant and a wall and stuff. So he goes into Cress again. And I miss with Earthquake because I didn't want to use Ice Beam because that would do nothing. And I was hoping he might predict me doing that. Predict me using Ice Beam, if you know what I mean. Anyway, I predicted his Psychic, but he used Charge Beam, which to be fair doesn't do much either, does it really? It did about 30 damage after an attack raise, so that's fine by me. I'm whacking him with the Shadow Balls and the Sucker Punches now, which is doing some really nice damage. And he goes to the Lunar Dance, which kills his Crest, which is really good for me, because that Crest would have caused me serious problems if it was still alive, if it had a recovery move, that is, because Crest is just really annoying. So he used Lunar Dance, but unfortunately goes into his Gyarados, which heals its paralysis and heals all its health. So at this point I was a little stuck as to what to do. I decided that I needed to get Deoxys in there. Sorry. I needed to get Deoxys in there because he had Thunderbolt and he was my only chance of killing the Gyarados. So, but I didn't want to switch him straight in, obviously, as Deoxys is ridiculously fragile. I suspected he would use Dragon Dance, but I didn't want to risk it because Deoxys was basically my only way to victory now. So he goes to the Waterfall because I only switched in Herbie so that he could be killed because he's got no more use. And I knew that he would attack Herbie and not set up because he knows I would use Thunder Wave, which is why I went to Herbie to stop him getting even more Dragon Dances and possibly outspeeding Deoxys if he had enough. So I used Thunderbolt. It wasn't worth going with Superpower, even though I knew that he was going to switch into Steelix, because if I hadn't and he hadn't, then the Deoxys would have died and that would have been game over. As it is, you've still got about another minute to endure. So he's roaring around doing what he does, and at this point I decide to go with the Superpower because I've already killed his Gyarados. So he goes into Sizzle, which is still asleep, and Superpower does. It's a disappointing amount, really, how much it does. I wasn't very impressed with that. So I go into Squelchy, and I get a Curse in, and because I'd seen its moves so far, I knew he's got Roost. I knew he's got. No, I didn't. I knew he's got Roost, and he's about to use Superpower. So from that, I took the guess that it wasn't a Swords Dancer, because a Swords Dancer would then have Bullet Punch, and that's a bit of a weird set, if I'm honest, in that Bullet Punch, Swords Dance, Roost, and Superpower. So he goes into Gyarados. Oh, sorry, did I say I'd already killed it earlier? Sorry about that. I'm getting ahead of myself. Right, at this point, what was that? At this point, he Earthquakes me, and I wanted to get him to sleep because the Sizzle's woken up, and I wanted to get a Pain Split off, which would have been so nice because that would have just been amazing. But it didn't work, so I sent in Flash, and I knew he was going to predict my Superpower and stay in, so I went with Thunderbolt. Now his Gyarados actually is dead. Sorry about that earlier. I'm going to live 2 more at most. So I knew he was going to have Bullet Punch because every Scizor has Bullet Punch. But if I'd switched out, he just would have killed me at a later date. So I've only got 1 left, which is my Gastrodon. Sorry. And he roosts up like I knew he would. So I go with the Curse to try and survive his Superpower, so that with enough HP so that I can whack him with an Earthquake, because then it would just be his Steelix. But unfortunately he does have Swords Dance, which means, which I'm not very happy about at all, really, because that means I'm going to get completely raped by a Superpower. So he gets in 3 SDs, and he uses Bullet Punch, actually, which kills me in 1 hit, unfortunately, because it was a crit. So yeah, good game. I can see that's what I get for using my never used and underused stuff. Get raped by Scizor or Cresselia. a Flygon and a Gyarados. Right, thanks for watching. Rate and comment. Thanks.